Last Saturday, I felt like an absolute machine. So it was 8 p.m. when I decided to stop working for the day and start to wind down for bed. So I had waken up at 5 a.m. as usual. I did my morning routine, which took me about 45 minutes. And apart from eating breakfast and taking a nap in the middle of the day, I had basically just worked the entire day. Like I think I calculated it. I worked for like 11 hours or something. I was so focused that I even forgot to eat lunch. Right? And I'm not telling you this to try and flex or glorify hustle culture or anything like that. But I'm sharing this because that is how we should be as young men. Now again, this isn't me promoting hustle culture or workaholism. I genuinely believe as men we should have rest. But the point I'm trying to make is we should be so driven as young men that working all day doesn't feel like some chore. Like we are genuinely so passionate about something that to sit down and just work almost energizes you. That's the level of drive that us men should have. We're filled with this testosterone inside of us. We should have this primal urge to work hard and achieve the goals that we care about so much. But what do you see in today's world? This world is full of distractions and all these things that you can just, you can open up your phone and just spend hours scrolling on social media. You can get this junk food, which these food scientists have optimized to make, you want to eat it more. Like this world is designed to make us comfortable and complacent. But that's not how we should be as young men. We should be so driven that we struggle to even fall asleep at night because we're just that occupied with our work. Right? I'm not saying that's a good thing. Right? Like, because this happens to me. Sometimes I'm just lying in bed and I'm just like so excited to wake up the next day and attack the day and get more work done. Right? I'm not saying that's like a good thing when you're trying to sleep, and I'm not saying it's healthy, but like when you're at that level of excited and that passionate about something, that's when you know that you are living in alignment with who you're meant to be as a man. All right, and you clicked on this video because you feel like you've lost that drive as a man, the drive that I'm talking about. And so me talking about this, you're probably thinking, oh, like what a jerk. He's just saying how driven he is and he's just making me feel worse. But I wasn't always like this. Like 4 years ago, I was depressed, and basically whenever I had free time, I was playing video games. And if I wasn't playing video games, I was watching people on YouTube play video games. Like, I was so driven to level up my skills in the virtual world rather than level up my own life. And the thing is, when I when I was doing these comfortable habits, I was actually miserable. Like, you'd think that if you do the easy habits, you know, you're living a comfortable, easy life. It's not like that at all. When you are so driven to do these habits that, like, I was feeling driven to do habits that were making me worse, that were destroying my mental health. Like, how sick is that? I'm a young man with this natural drive inside of me, and I'm wasting it trying to level up in some video game. The reason why your work feels so boring to you is because your life is just too comfortable. When guys use this drive inside of them to chase dopamine instead of work on something that would bring them fulfillment, of course, their dopamine receptors are going to want them to do the comfortable habits, right? Because it's such an easy way to get that stimulation rather than actually putting in the hard work that you know you'll feel proud of once you finish it. All right, and in this video, I want to share some of the learning lessons that I've personally experienced as I went from that depressed video gamer who would spend my weekends playing video games to a man who is now leveling up in life and building something that I'm passionate about. Right, so I hope you can, whatever you were planning on doing before, you can stick around and watch this, because if you take action on this, I genuinely think it will change your life. Right, so step 1 to find your drive when you are comfortable is to remove the bad habits. Now, I know you may be thinking, oh, what generic advice? I already know that I should remove the bad habits. But as I said earlier, if work isn't the most enjoyable part of your day, the most fulfilling part of your day, you will never find fulfillment in your work. You'll always think it's boring because you could spend your time doing something that would bring you dopamine so much easier and so much quicker. Most guys, when they try to find their drive again and they want to try and get out of this comfort complacency trap, they think that they need to discipline themselves and they just need to work harder. But that is not going to work when you have these bad habits that your brain remembers and your brain makes you think about when you're trying to work. Because, as I said, those habits are so much easier to do. You know, because the work, it requires strain on your brain, right? Strain on your brain. It does. And so you trying to work when you could do something so much more comfortable, it's impossible. Right? Your brain just starts going in all these different places. And so work has to be the most fulfilling part of your day. Because if it isn't, like I said, you will find it very difficult to work. So I want you to imagine you are in a jail cell. All that's in this jail cell is a bed, a toilet, a window, and a computer, and all that's on this computer that you can do is your work. Now, you've got two options in this jail cell. You can either force yourself to sit down and work, or you just sit there and be bored. Now, if you're in that situation, it's pretty clear that you just think, oh, well, I can either sit here and be bored, or I can get work done, which is, at least it'd be fulfilling, you know? I can get my work done and I feel productive. Might as well just work. And so you go to your computer, you do your work. Again, it causes this strain on your mind, and it's this effort. But you finish the day and you think, oh, like I'm actually feeling productive. Like I felt like I actually did something that was contributing to, you know, my purpose, my goals. I bet you that day would be so much more fulfilling than your normal day when you had more quote unquote freedom to do whatever you wanted to do. Isn't that a bit ironic? If you were put in this scenario where you were put into jail, you would have a more enjoyable day because you'd get more work done and you'd feel more satisfied and fulfilled than you would spending your days scrolling and wasting away as a man. I know it takes discipline to do this, but if you can cut out the distractions in your life, the distractions that you know that you need to cut out, but you keep coping and saying, oh, you know, like I need to have my 1 hour of video games a day, or I need to, you know, scroll, it's relaxing. Brother, when you play video games, when you spend your time scrolling after work, that's not relaxing. What's relaxing is spending some time out in the sun, walking at the park, spending time with friends and family, reading a book, eating a clean, nutritious meal, spending time on your phone, you know, lying on your bed, looking at all these reels or whatever you're watching. That is not relaxing. Your brain is stimulated when you do that. It's getting the same reward as you putting in work to achieve something meaningful. Think about how twisted that is. We live in a world where a man who has this drive and this high testosterone to go out and conquer and achieve something, he can get that same reward from just lying on his bed, on his phone, just scrolling. Right? I know this isn't going to be easy. I'm not saying that even I'm perfect with this, but we should be so intentional in trying to stay away from these bad habits. We have to just find a way to cut them out the best that we can. Because if you're a young man watching this, you have so much potential to achieve great things. Especially if you're watching a video like this. If you're this deep into the video, you are a man with ambition. You are a man who is capable of more. But these bad habits, they're going to hold you back. And it's only until you find a way to cut them out that you are actually going to make progress in the areas that you care about. And for me, the best way that I've found that I can do this is if I set myself a clear deadline where I can't do that bad habit until like X is finished. Right? So for me, probably the most stimulating activity in my day is just watching educational YouTube videos online or just checking my phone. So what I'll do is I usually like to wake up at 5, like I said, I do my morning routine, and then I do usually 4 hours of deep work in the morning where my phone is switched off in my drawer. There is no distractions, and all I can do is either sit at my desk and do work, or I just sit there bored. Literally just sitting in my room, just like that jail cell. Like I can look outside, but eventually I just get to that point where I'm like, oh, like I might as well just do work, of course. When you tell yourself no, and you set these firm boundaries with your bad habits, that is when you will make so much more progress in your work, and you'll find that drive again, because now you won't resort to these short-term pleasures that are hijacking your brain and making you numb and lazy. Right? But there's no point in getting rid of these bad habits unless you have a mission. Right? So that's the second step. You have to find a mission. Now, what I mean by a mission is there is many problems that are in today's world. And if you spent the time to think about what problems would I want to dedicate my time solving, have a real big think about it. But what problems would I want to spend my time solving? Once you have these problems, and there is many out in the world, think about what strengths do I have? What are my natural abilities and talents? And then once you understand that and your interests and your talents and your passions, think about what problem can you solve? Because it's only when we have a problem that goes beyond ourselves, it's only then that we feel this deeper motivation. Because it's only when we have something greater than ourselves to fight for that all of a sudden we don't feel like we have to do something. Otherwise, we're going to let someone or something down. Right? So for me, the problem that I want to solve is I see in today's world the effects of this masculinity crisis that we're in, where men are no longer being the strong, principled men that we used to see. And as a result, we see fatherlessness and divorce rates that are so high because there aren't enough men today who have strength of character while also having good intentions and having something like strong values that they fight for. Right? So for me, that's my passion. That's the problem that I want to solve. And so every single time that I feel the urge to be lazy, I just think about, if I don't get up and do the work today, then the masculinity crisis is going to be worse because of me. Right? So once you have that mindset, all of a sudden you feel like you're needed in the world. And as men, we need to feel needed. We need to feel like our efforts are contributing to something that, we're needed in this world. And when you only do things that, sort of there for yourself, and the world doesn't need you, it's so easy to fall into this complacency trap. It's so easy to just be comfortable because now no one's relying on you. No one's keeping you accountable. There's no problem that you are working towards that you're passionate about. And so what's the easy alternative? To just stay in comfort and do the things that comfort brings. And your life is unfulfilling as a result. You lack the drive. You lack that feeling of being masculine and having a purpose that you are passionate about solving. And so you just waste away because you aren't contributing to something greater than yourself. There is no reason beyond you to fight for something. Right? And the third step that you need to take to start to find your drive again, even when you're comfortable. The third step is make your situation more painful than what it is. Now, I know this sounds like weird advice. Why would I want to make my situation more painful? But just think about it. We as human beings are more motivated by avoiding pain than we are pursuing pleasure. So many men, they feel like to find their motivation again, they just need to think about the rewards of what they will get if they put in the work. But that's not the best way to stay motivated. But rather, we should think about what our life will be like if we don't take action. Because suddenly there's this immediacy, like we have to take this urgency that we have to take action now. Otherwise, we will experience that pain. Right? So if you feel like you're too comfortable, it's because your life is just good enough where it's not painful enough that you want to take action, but it's not good enough that you're living the life that you love. Right? Your life at the moment is like lukewarm water. You should either be hot, where your life is fantastic, or cold, where you think in your mind that if I don't take action and improve my life and work towards a problem that I can solve, some mission that I care about, then I am just going to live this miserable existence. Right? I know this seems dramatic, and look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to not be grateful. Right? I'm probably the most grateful I've ever been in my entire life right now. And yet I have this passion and this drive to think that I need to keep executing, because I just think about how much worse my life is now than the life that I would have if I put in the work and I have this drive and I fight for something. So this is actually I know it sounds like weird advice. You think, why would you want to make your life worse? Doesn't that seem a bit toxic? I hope you get my point. Like, I am so grateful and so content with where I'm at in life. But I realize that this life that I'm living now, as good as it is, in comparison to the future, this life is painful. And again, the reason why this is so important is because that will motivate you so much more to work hard and find that drive again to accomplish your goals. Right? So this feeling of making your life more painful than what it is actually a good thing. Because in a weird way, this pain that we associate with our life, that is actually helping us to do the things that will make our life more fulfilling. Right? And so just think about, if I don't take action and if I don't change where I'm at in life right now, then how miserable is my life of mediocrity going to be? Once you start to think like that, and you cut out the distractions, you cut out the bad habits that are super stimulating, and you find work that you are passionate about, you are going to be so, like, I can guarantee you, if you take action on these 3 steps, right? So I'll say it again. You cut out the bad distractions that are stimulating. You find a mission or some problem that you care about and you're passionate about solving and that align with your interests and passions and strengths. And you make your situation more painful than what it is, where if you don't take action, you will experience this pain. If you take action on those 3 steps, I can guarantee you that you are going to be so much more driven than where you're at now. Because at the moment, you are in this lukewarm stage where your life is not painful enough for you to take the action that you desperately, as an ambitious man, want to take. Your life's not good enough yet where you feel content and satisfied. Right? So someone who has lived both lifestyles, who had the life where I just let myself do whatever bad habit that I wanted. I'd play video games all the time, I'd do all the bad habits, versus the life I'm in now where I discipline myself and I set myself clear rules and boundaries that I stand firm in. I'm telling you right now, this life where I'm building towards something and I'm putting my effort into doing the work that I'm genuinely passionate about and that brings me fulfillment, this life is so much more satisfying, so much more fulfilling. Right? And like I said, if you take action on what I say, you will find that drive again. It may not be a linear path of growth where everything just goes smoothly, but that's like anything in life. Life is a journey, it's progress. You're going to have times where you find that drive again, you get the ball rolling, you get that momentum that you crave, and then you go through a season where you fall into a rut. The main thing is that you take action. And when you find yourself in a rut, you just start to make those actions and take progressive overload again. So what I mean by that is, let's just say you're in a rut. Instead of trying and lift a 100 kilo bench, right? You're trying to do a 100 kilo bench. Instead of going back after being injured, for example, and doing the 100 kilo bench again, you go back to 40 kilos and then you work your way up again. So if you find yourself in a rut, just slowly progress again. Slowly work your way back up. And it's the same thing when you fall into a rut. And that will happen. You will have times where you fall back into complacency, you fall back into bad habits, you lose sight of your mission. But you just go back to 40 kilos, go back to 60, and work your way up, back to 100 again, and then beyond. If you do this, and you have this intentionality, you will make progress, and you won't have this problem where you feel like you've lost your drive, because now you know that you are needed in this world and that there is a problem that you are passionate about solving. All right, so I know this is a super long video. I rambled on a bit, but I hope you can take these 3 steps away and that you find this drive again. Because as men, it's such a shame that we use our primal urge to work hard and to grow and to become better, and we use that to engage in these cheap dopamine habits that just suck our soul. Right? And so I hope you take this advice seriously. Take action on those 3 steps. Don't just click and watch some other video thinking that you're being productive. If you're on the couch or on your bed or whatever you're doing, wherever you are watching this, take action on these steps, because I guarantee you that if you do, you will be so much more fulfilled doing that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I said, subscribe, give this video a like, comment and tell me what you think. I'm always open to hearing feedback about my videos, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.